How's everybody doing? It's Cevan. Joined again with me, it's Reed and Tyler. This is episode 5 of Likely to Dispute.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one today. Got a few quick hitters right here that we'll get to, and then we'll dive into the meat and potatoes of this episode, which is going to be mock draft talk. So, Reed, Savon, I'm going to hit you guys with a quick question here. And on any given NFL week, what's the better watch? Several players in one primetime game, like a Thursday night, Sunday night, whatever it may be, or most of your players on the noon slate spread out, flipping between CBS and Fox or watching Red Zone. What would you prefer between those two scenarios? I don't care who starts.
I'll start with this one. This one's tough for me because both of them are awesome. It like especially when you're like you said, you're in a prime time game. Like usually when you watch at noon, like I pay for Sunday ticket, so I have all the games up. When your guy goes on defense, or sorry, when your guy's not on the field, then you just stop paying attention. Whereas you have a guy on both sides, you're always locked in. But that being said, I think just the joy you get from watching like four games at once. You might have two guys on the field at the same time. For me, it's really helped my stay focused on the task because it's not easy to pay attention to three games at once. But I need to make sure that if my guy catches a ball, I'm there to support him. So for me, I'd probably say a lot of guys are like the noon slate.
There. Savon, you agree with that, or you on the other side of the coin?
I am going to dispute this one. I'm on the other side. Like Reed was saying, both are great. I mean, if you're a true ball fan, just you'll watch your players regardless when they play. But for an example, like if it's Giants Lions Sunday night football and it's the only game on, in my situation, I'd have Neighbors and Gibbs, and having them on the field at all times during the whole game, on top of everybody who is a ball fan is watching the game, so they get to experience what you experience, or your opponent gets to watch that unfold, or just a fan, like I said, just a fan of the game is watching the game, and they can feel my excitement when I'm spamming the group chats about Gibbs going 70 yards. So I'd have to say a primetime game for
The
me.
Yeah,
re the real question is how did the Giants get on a primetime game? I mean,
That,
that just
it's
seems
New York.
impossible.
East
It's New
Coast
York.
bias, man.
Yeah, but
Nah,
that was just an example of having, two S tier elite building blocks in fantasy on my team. So
yeah. Well,
Tyler?
I do agree with you, Savon. I think I like watching both sides of the ball. Having players on my fantasy team is it helps. Not that I'm ever disinterested in a football game, but I think I can actually enjoy a whole football game instead of
yeah,
just scoping out my players, trying to see if they're getting big plays or whatever it may be. And yeah, like you said, I mean, your fantasy players are out on display for everyone to see. So
It,
yep,
it it feels like you enjoy football at a more pure level like that because when
yeah,
you're watching a game with a guy on only one side, you don't care what's happening for half the game, so you just feel like a fantasy nerd. Whereas when you have a guy on both sides, you're always cheering for the team on offense, so you're enjoying it from a more pure point of view, I think.
yeah.
yep,
And last thing I'll say, if that's a Thursday night, I mean, that gives you a pretty good indication on how your matchups can go for better or worse. If it's great, then you feel pretty good. And if not, you just chalk it up and move on to the next one.
There's nothing
yeah.
worse than sitting on a Friday and Saturday after having a Thursday night dud. That's just the worst feeling ever.
Yeah. All right. Well, Reed, you made a trade within the last 24 hours. So do you want to take us in and tell us more about
hmm
that?
Well, I finally got the guy that I've mentioned on three of the four podcasts so far. I got my guy, Josh Downs, finally. Traded Chris Godwin, Amari Cooper, and a fourth rounder for Josh Downs, and my second rounder back actually next year. So a 2026 second rounder. Obviously, as I've said, I think Josh Downs is the only one of the only eye test guys that I'm like, this guy's a baller. Clearly, there's a lot of targets now in the Colts offense. The passer of the ball is questionable, so there's a lot of, volatility in his stock, but I think it's pretty safe to say, at least I would be betting that he's going to lead them in targets. How many targets or the quality of targets is up for grabs, but I'm obviously investing in the Colts offense, and for me, Chris Godwin's a good player, one of the best players in the last, 5 years or so, but at the same time, He's older, coming off an injury, and with the depth I have at wide receiver, where I already have four starting receivers ahead of Downs, I would much rather take the shot on the upside of Downs than even if Godwin's, comes back from the injury healthy this year, he's probably not going to hit my starting lineup that often. So I would rather do that, and then I make up some capital that I traded for Rashee Rice earlier because before this trade, I had one pick next year and it was a fourth rounder. So helps me make up a little bit of capital there. Um, Amari Cooper, I don't think is a huge loss. I think there is some potential value there if he ends up signing somewhere like the Cowboys. But overall, like a fourth rounder and Amari Cooper weren't too much for me to add. Cam K is also a big Joe Milton guy, and we discussed Joe Milton, but he said he was mostly a vibes player for him. And for me, with Dak Prescott, he actually does have some value as essentially a handcuff quarterback. So I didn't get to get him Joe Milton as that was his white whale, but I think it all worked out in the end.
Yeah. I guess Cevan, any thoughts you want to share on this?
Yeah, so I'm not super familiar with Josh Downs myself. Obviously, I know who he is, but I do know Reed's been talking about him for the last year, and I've seen some other buzz around the fantasy community about him. Um, he pretty much touched on all the points. The situation is a little sketchy, but some guys you just got to
Bet
have on your
bet on
team.
the talent.
Yeah, exactly. You see the vision. That's all that matters is your opinion at the end of the day. Um, Picking up that second, even if it's your own second, and you're probably betting that's going to be a late second.
Thank you.
Um,
I'm
that's still
honored.
you're probably betting that, not me. Um, that's a good get back. If I had to pick a winner of the trade, if we're doing that, I would say it's you, not by a wide margin, because I would, if everybody's healthy in this, I would expect. Actually, I have no expectations, but
I,
it's a fair trade all the way around. Everybody got what they wanted. Um, so
It's
yeah,
also hard to grade a winner of a trade right after
yeah,
it.
that's true.
what I like about it for Cam K is that he, is one of those um, new owners, part of the reclamation draft. And he had a great starting lineup, but looking at the bench, there's a little bit of concern there, especially in the wide receiver department. So Godwin, is an upgrade over Downs, most likely, in my opinion. And then I actually do think Cooper latches on somewhere, and he may not be the player he once was, but I think he will provide a good floor and someone that can be started. Um, if a player gets injured or is on bye. So that's where I like the depth in that trade for Cam K.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about Cooper is we thought last year him going to the Bills was a good situation, and it did not work at all. And he is at the point where he's going to ring chase. So I mean, you're probably expecting him to sign with a contender, but it's kind of like the D Hop situation. Like he's ring chasing, and he went to a contender, but I'm not sure. At least I don't like the landing spot, but I don't know. I don't personally. I don't think. I think Cooper's done as far as being fantasy relevant.
I mean,
I
in
think that's the
regards to
most
Buffalo,
likely. Yeah, I think that's the most likely outcome. But I mean, he literally had 1,200 yards in 2023, so he's literally
yeah,
1 year removed from a 1,200 yard season. So, while I don't think he's ever going to be a bona fide fantasy starter again, I think in the right situation he does have flex appeal
yeah,
some weeks.
definitely. It is difficult to pick up a new system and playbook in the middle of the season.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
cool. Well, yeah, good trade all the way around. It seems like fun to talk about. So, Reed, you said you had a stat you wanted to share. Savan and I, we don't know what it is, so I think we're
Savon,
all
did you want to
ears.
bring up your small trades first?
Oh, yes,
Oh
I'm sorry.
no, you're good. Super small trades. Traded Daniel Jones for the 405 with Ian. Thought process behind that was picked him up off waivers. If I could get anything for him, that's a win. So I'll take that. Plus another dart throw at the end of the draft. Then I traded Roshan Johnson, the current RB2 for the Bears, for the 406 with Trent. Again, that's dart throws on both sides. So I don't think. And plus the Daniel Jones one with Ian, he only has two quarterbacks rostered, and so if Daniel does end up starting, he gets a free quarterback. And by then, if somebody's a quarterback needy team, he can probably get a bigger return on investment than I did. So all around, everybody's just throwing darts in the fourth round or on roster stashes. So
I think it's quite clear that if you thought Daniel Jones was actually going to be the starter for the Colts, you wouldn't have traded him for a mid fourth round pick.
uh, I definitely can disagree with that because
Dispute that, some might say.
the other three quarterbacks I have are guaranteed starters. So
I don't know. Gardner Minshew might push Pat this year. We'll see.
we'll see.
As,
According to
as,
Rob,
as I say, per his message in the chat, he's hoping for some Gardner Minshew action this year.
Nice.
Okay. Stat of the day. It's a fun one. Cevan, we talked briefly about it, but it changed a little bit. So let me set the scene here. From the 2010 to the 2022 NFL drafts, of all receivers who were picked in the top 100 picks, 61 of those receivers had 20 catches or less in their rookie year. Of those 61 receivers, Tyler, how many do you think went on to post a top 24 season by total fantasy points over their next 3 seasons in the league?
Let me get the numbers right. So 61 posted 20 or less, do you say catches?
Yeah, receptions in their rookie year.
And then how many went on in the next 3 seasons?
To
So I'm
post
answering number of players.
of the 61 players,
Mhm.
how many of them recorded a top 24 season in the next 3 seasons? So basically their rookie contract
Okay.
by
Well,
total fantasy points.
this being stat of the day, I'm thinking it's either really high or really low. I think it's probably really low. I feel like your rookie year is so much more important in a sport like football rather than baseball, which which I'm trying to compare. So I'm gonna say it's a low number. I'm gonna say 8.
8.
Yeah, that's my final guess. 8.
Okay, Tyler guesses 8. Savon, how many do you think?
I'm gonna say 6.
6. Okay. You guys are both too high.
Wow.
Only 3 of 61 players accomplished that after having 20 catches or less. And now the bonus part, can you guys name the 3 receivers who did it? We're talking 2010 to 2022 NFL drafts.
Uh, Devontae Parker.
No.
Um, would Elijah? No,
I'll give
not
you a hint.
Elijah Moore.
I'll give you a hint. One of them is active. One of them is technically still active, and one of them is retired.
Wow. Well, my first guess was Cedric Tillman, but I think Cedric Tillman got drafted in 2023.
Yeah,
So
I didn't count them because they didn't have enough time to finish
sure,
out their 3 seasons. So that's why I limited it to the 2022 draft.
active.
Um,
So one of
Like
them,
actively was catching passes for a team last year.
sure. So one of them, Cooper Cup.
No.
Dang it.
Okay. You guys are shooting on a dartboard that's too wide here. Okay, the guy that's retired, he played on some of the best teams with Peyton Manning.
T.Y. Hilton.
No, I don't think he got drafted till after Andrew Luck was there.
Is it Demarius Thomas?
No, but he was a first round pick. He was teammates with Demaryius Thomas.
Eric Decker.
Eric Decker, 6
Wow.
catches his rookie year, and he was no wide receiver number 9 in the 3 years after in one of the seasons. I don't remember which one. The next one, currently active slot receiver, signed a free agent deal last year with an AFC team. A multi-year free agent deal with an AFC team last year. He was a second round pick.
Second round pick.
Multi-year.
Multi-year contract with an AFC team last offseason.
It's not Robert Woods.
It's not.
Is it?
He's
Oh, I
on
was
a
gonna
he's
guess
on a playoff team.
this past year playoff team.
Yes,
Gosh,
AFC playoff team.
I'm not gonna get it.
No,
This is. I'm thinking
gonna get
too
it.
hard.
He signed a 3-year contract last offseason. He's a smaller fella.
Small fella that
Went
plays
to
in
a
the.
went to Ohio State.
Oh my goodness.
This is bad, Cevan.
When he played, he got drafted out of Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
What year?
2017. He was the 40th overall pick.
Bruh.
Oh, is it Nico Collins?
No,
No,
he was
Michigan.
No.
Michigan. Yeah.
What are you?
Sorry, sorry,
Slot
sorry.
receiver?
No, I know. I Big Ten on the mind.
No, okay, we actually have to lock in Tyler.
I'm ready to throw in the white flag.
No, nope,
He
nope,
signed a
nope.
3-year contract with an AFC playoff team last offseason, and he's probably the third or fourth target on their team.
AFC, did they get eliminated in the first round?
No, they made it quite far.
Quite far. Sounds
Not all the way.
sounds AFC championship-ish. So it sounds like a Raven.
Shit.
That would be nice if they made the AFC championship game this year, but they didn't.
It's
The
not
Bills.
Curtis Samuel, is it?
Curtis Samuel, baby.
Wow.
He was wide receiver
Wow.
23 in one of his seasons afterwards.
That's crazy. You
Yeah.
can understand how we don't have Curtis
Yeah.
Samuel
Yeah, exactly.
ready to
Well,
go.
and I believe like the year he was so good, he got some rushing value too, kind of like that Debo
Sure.
season. So he wasn't like a pure receiver. And then the last one, this one might be a little bit easier. He's
Yeah.
technically active. You have probably haven't heard about him in a long time, but he had a flash in the pan season where he was really, really good.
You said
He
he's
was
currently active?
he's current. I believe he was active last year. I don't think he's on a team now. You probably haven't heard about him in years. He was the
Chase
2018
Claypool.
draft.
Chase Claypool.
No, good guess though.
Yeah, I need more.
Okay,
Yeah.
he was on an AFC team last year, and the team he was drafted to was an AFC team.
That
Gonna
that
be honest.
yeah, that
That's
did
not
not
helping
help.
Okay,
me.
he
We
was a
can do
flash in the pan for the Jaguars.
Uh,
He went to LSU.
DJ Chark?
DJ Chark,
nice.
14 catches his rookie year, and he was wide receiver 17 in 2020.
There we go.
Wow.
Just missed was Jamison Williams last year. He only had one catch his rookie year. Obviously, he came in hurt, so that was part of it. But he was wide receiver 26 last year, and just missed the cut.
So
But
Good
yeah,
look.
this sounds like negative Jalen Polk propaganda. So Deshaun, you should
I wasn't going to list the people who qualified this year because I don't want to kill a bunch of guys' values. But there are 5 players from this draft this year who had 20 catches or less this past season. Tyler, you know who one of them is.
I do. I have at least two of them.
is Michael Wilson one of them?
Michael Wilson, like Cardinals Michael Wilson?
Yeah.
I don't believe so, no.
Oh, I thought you were talking about some of my taxi squad guys.
Tyler, we were talking about him last night.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So there's 5 guys in the draft that had 20 catches or less, and it was a top 100 pick last year in the 2024 NFL draft, but I won't name them. So if you want to figure out who they are, you got to look them up yourself.
One is Jalen Polk.
I will not
Nice.
confirm or deny.
It's a fact.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
stat of the day, I thought that was a fun one.
That is a good one. A little discouraging, but it is good.
I also have
Uh,
one of them on my roster.
There you go. Well, one of us might have the next
I have
DJ
one.
Chark.
I have one as well. Bub Means.
He was not a
Okay.
top 100 pick.
Oh, forgot that criteria. So we're good. He still has hope then.
Okay. Well, talking about
I don't know about
rookies,
that part.
should we move to the mock draft part of this
Yes,
episode?
the good part.
Cool.
When
So-
when Cevan and I had the idea for the podcast, this was one of the main parts that we were most excited for.
Yep.
Yeah. So you guys we're gonna go through the first round, and how it'll work is I'll tell you guys who's on the clock, with what pick, and you guys have each come up with your own list or your own pick for who you think that person will pick, not who you're advising them to pick.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a very important difference there. This is not who we would take. This is who we think, getting into the psyche of everybody in the first round, which this is only possible because Cevan nor I have a pick in the first round this year. So it would be a little weird, I think, which is why Tyler is not doing a mock draft because he does have a first round pick. So Savon and I are an unbiased third party here. We're getting into the psyche of everybody, and it's we also want to note that Savon and I have no insider intel on who certain teams like. We are just guessing. We know as much as you do. Everybody's been pretty tight-lipped with us, even though we've tried to figure out who people are taking. So don't take us mocking a player somewhere as, oh, well, they must have talked to them and they know who they like. We have absolutely no inside intel on anything except the number one pick, which he's made very clear by his team name.
And he just updated his profile picture to
Yes.
Ashton.
So that is
So
the only intel we have. Everything else is just pure speculation.
All right. Oh, should we just get started then?
let's get
Yep.
started.
All right. Well, kind of spoil it a little bit, but I mean, it's been spoiled for months now. So,
Yeah.
you guys, I mean, I'll just let you guys say it to be official, but Deshaun actually has the 1-1 previously acquired it. I don't recall in what trade, but Deshaun has the 1-1 this year, and he is taking.
Ashton Genty.
Yeah,
That
so,
one's
so Savannah and I
confirmed.
are going to alternate picks here. So
Okay,
one of us will go first. So in this case, Savannah can go first.
sure.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it's Ashton. We
not
don't.
not a whole lot to say.
Yeah. So next pick.
Well, I guess one question with Ashton. I mean, so yeah, that I mean seems like the layup, of course, but my question for you guys is, you know, where do you think he ranks in terms of dynasty running backs right now? Just you don't have to think about it too long, too hard. Just give me a number.
I would say top five, anywhere in the 3 to 5 range. Just just yeah, leave it at that.
Yeah,
So,
he's definitely not one or two. So yeah, I'd
Okay.
agree. The range starts at three, somewhere in the 3 to 5 or 6 range. It probably depends on your flavor of youth versus proven production. Because again, players can bust as much as a guarantee as he seems like. But yeah, somewhere in that
Yeah.
3 to 5 or 6 range,
Yeah. Nevertheless, a stud to get with that first pick, and hopefully is an anchor for Deshaun for some years to come.
or
So,
hopefully not, because we're trying to beat him.
wow,
yeah.
also true. So at 1-2, Andrew Sumner's picking. He has his pick. Who do you guys have him taking?
Savan, I'll start this one.
Yep.
Okay, I have him taking Travis Hunter here. Normally, uh, Andrew is my good friend from the University of Iowa. I know he's a big football fan, but he's not exactly ball his life. So I think with him, the math is really easy. He has the number two pick, he has Trevor Lawrence, and it gets him a built-in stack at a position where he's not super strong right now. So, I think Hunter is anywhere in the 2 to 5 range in a lot of consensus, but at the same time, I think with the stack, it should be in my mind, I think it makes a lot of sense for him to take Hunter at two.
That's good
Okay.
reasoning.
I like this because we're already starting different. So I'm hoping there's a lot of parity in our picks here. But number two for Sumner, I have him taking Omarion Hampton. To me, just based on his roster, that's a position he needs to get a solid anchor. I know he has Christian McCaffrey, but health is a question. I love the landing spot for Hampton. He seems like he's going to be a smash hit. And so just getting that first round, number two overall running back to hopefully set Sumner up for success in the future. Have him going Hampton.
Yeah, obviously both great picks there, for different reasons there. So Andrew will have a tough choice on his hands. Wanted to ask you guys, Andrew has Ramondre Stevenson on his team. Is there any chance he shocks the world and takes Travion Henderson above consensus here as kind of a 1B or 1A or handcuff, however you phrase it, to Ramondre to kind of solidify that whole Patriots backfield? Or do you think it's Omarion or Hunter or nothing else?
I'll start with this one. I don't think that's an option because he would never start both of them at the same time. And so he would basically be handicapping himself to only being able to start either the player he already had or a rookie, and it wouldn't really affect the lineup because if Ramondre's out producing Trey and he gets more touches, then it's basically the same as if if Trey outproduces Ramondre, so he'd be getting the same result instead of adding one or the other.
I don't think it's impossible because I'll never say never on it, but I would be very surprised. I think if Henderson had gotten first round draft capital, I think there's a lot higher chance, but him falling to the second round and being, I think he'd be the fourth skilled position player taken. It would definitely surprise me, but again, I'll never say never on it. You know, crazier stuff has probably happened.
He
Sure.
he was like the eighth skill position player taken.
What?
Did you mean running back, Reed?
Cam Ward.
He was the third running back. There was two quarterbacks, two tight ends.
Oh, sorry. I forgot
Yeah.
about the tight ends. Sorry. My
There was
bad.
like three or four
Yeah,
receivers
that makes
too.
sense. So yeah,
Yeah,
okay, I guess that makes my point even more. Being the eighth skill position player taken, I'd be
Sure.
very surprised if he took him at number two.
yeah.
All right. Well, fair enough. So I guess we'll move next to 1-3. This was previously owned by Robert, but now is owned by Ian. Ian has a stacked team, as we previously discussed, but plenty of good options here for him. Um, Cevan, who do you have Ian taking at 1-3?
I've got Ian taking Travion Henderson here. Um, Ian's really only missing some anchors at running back, and so if he can, if Travion Henderson can come in and get that RB1 role and just earn a workhorse role and just completely take over Ramondre by the time mid-season or the playoffs roll around, then that's a smash hit. Travion rose up a lot of boards during this pre-draft process, and so I think Ian just takes the value here with a potential riser in the dynasty running back landscape. So
Nice. Reed, any disagreement with that?
Yes, I have him taking Omarion Hampton here.
Okay.
Obviously, I think Savon and I agree a better dynasty running back at this point in the draft. This is the ideal scenario for Ian because I think, again, just about everybody would probably take Hampton given his nearly perfect landing spot, better draft capital. This is the ideal scenario. So if I'm Ian, I'm sure he's hoping that either a receiver or quarterback goes at number two so he can take Hampton. But all the same points Savon made, his roster, he's made it known that he wants to take at least one running back with one of these two picks. He ended up lucking out. Chase Brown got no draft competition, so he's not nearly as desperate as I think he thought he was when he acquired both 3 and 5, but definitely needs a running back with one of these two picks. And Hampton is in a great spot, and first round draft capital. There's not a lot to argue with there.
Yeah. So it sounds like you guys both agree that a running back is taken. It's just matters or it just matters who it is. So
yep.
okay, next at 1-4, Cam K is picking here. Reed, who do you have him picking?
This is where I have Ted McMillan going. I really like the landing spot for him. Bryce is a good downfield thrower. Ted is a good downfield catcher of the football. There's a lot to like there. He's going to be the number one. Cam needs receivers really, really bad. And while I don't always advocate for drafting for need, in this case, I think it lines up. His running backs are very, very solid. And Ted McMillan, top 10 pick, number 8. I really like his fit with Cam because then he adds Godwin, who's should be a solidified flex starter at least. Adds McMillan, and his starting lineup is then locked and loaded. And I think that makes him a real threat here in year one.
Yeah. Savan, you have not selected Travis Hunter to go anywhere yet. Is this Travis Hunter spot or are you going elsewhere?
This is the Travis Hunter spot. Um, got number 2 overall draft capital, got traded up for future first to go get him, and the GM immediately said that he's going to be starting on offense. So that's all good things that you want to hear. It helps that they already have a wide receiver 1 with Brian Thomas Jr. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This is Cam K. I thought this was Ian. Never mind. So, yeah, they already have a wide receiver 1 in Brian Thomas Jr. In my opinion, that only helps him and Travis. I'm not as high on Trevor Lawrence. Some people are. You can't deny the fact that Liam Cohen had a good passing attack with Baker Mayfield last year, and he was able to provide for Otten, McMillan, Evans, and Godwin. So maybe at different times, but I think Travis falling to 4 here, great value. Cam does need receivers as well, so Uh, that's my selection.
So at 1-5, Ian has another pick here, believe it or not. So in the first 5 picks, Ian will be picking twice. I believe we're at Cevan. Who do you have Ian's second selection in the first round being?
I've got Ian with two top five picks, doubling down, taking another running back. This time it is Browns running back Quinshawn Judkins. If I'm not mistaken, he got higher draft capital than Travion.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, just getting both Ohio State running backs. Quinshawn, he's not going to have, I guess they're both not going to have the backfield to themselves initially, but they're both set up to be workhorse backs at some point in the season. And so taking two shots at running back, hoping at least one hits. And if you hit on both, then you're pretty set up adding Chase Brown and then these two rookies to the mix so you can have some depth and success in the lineup and just completely make a super team.
Very nice. Two running backs for Ian. That's what Savon has. Reed, you going elsewhere or following the same philosophy?
While I want to note that I think that everyone just kind of assumes Ian's going to take two running backs here, I think, again, like I mentioned, Chase Brown being a bona fide starter again, I think this is no longer guaranteed to be a running back. I think he's a lot thinner at wide receiver than we are probably giving him credit for. He says he's higher on Cooper Kupp than we are. That's, him and Jacoby Myers are his two flexes outside of Brian Thomas and Nico Collins. So I don't necessarily think this has to be a running back, but I do have a running back going. This is where I have Trevion Henderson because I think the depth or the value of him there is better than what's on the board. I think that, again, I don't have a lot of unique thoughts on Henderson. The fit, again, Ian probably wants some depth at running back. It's possible that neither of these two are, reliable early season starters, but the fact that he gets two shots now at running back to increases his chances that one of those two can be a starter. So again, Ian made it known that he wanted running backs, and I think this is a good spot for Henderson. I have him going a little bit lower than Savan, but I think that the spot is good, and I think it's a good fit for Ian as well.
Yeah, definitely. So with we're 5 picks through right now. I want to ask you guys if you could each give me a percentage chance that we see a trade with these first 5 picks, someone moving up,
Hmm.
taking a guy they like. Give me a percentage for how likely you think that is to happen. Again, there's no collusion going on, just off the rip. What do you
Hmm.
guys think?
I think it's a great question, and I meant to note that we're not mocking any trades, and I definitely think that it's possible a trade happens in the first round. We're just not mocking that. We're just doing it as the order stands. Honestly, I think there's a not insignificant chance. Like if I had to put a percentage on it, I'd say like 25% within these first five. Like I think if Ian gets who he wants at number three and he fills the hole at running back, I think there's a possibility he trades out. I know Camden K. I saw the scoop. He said there was some competition for 104, and I know there was some competition for another spot up in the top five as well. So there's definitely been some talks. Definitely not a guarantee by any means, but I would love to see a bombshell for the first day of the draft.
Definitely. So 25% for Reed, Savon. Do you agree with that, or less
I'm gonna
likely,
I'm,
more likely?
I'm gonna say 50-50.
Wow.
Um,
Pretty high.
yeah, I feel like I have a good pulse on a lot of the members of the league and what's going on behind the scenes, but there's always the potential I don't know everything somehow. And
Quite likely, actually.
there could be a deal agreed to already in theory that nobody knows about, just those two. Could be a little scoop for you. So yeah, I'll say 50-50 that there's a trade inside the top five.
Okay. So look out for a potential trade. See, maybe even one of our commissions will decide to move up, but probably not. Um, at number 6, Rex is picking. He could go a lot of different ways. Reed, who do you like Trent taking here?
Brent has a lot of picks, and he needs to hit on them because he traded away some good pieces. And I have this as I think is kind of a shock. I have him taking Cam Ward here. Stafford is old. You don't know his fantasy relevance. He traded real assets for JJ McCarthy, but again, kind of an unknown at this point. coming off the knee injury, set up in a good system with good weapons, but it's not a guarantee that he's going to be a starter, a fantasy starter. And I think Cam Ward makes a lot of sense for Trent to get the NFL first pick at the sixth pick in the draft as a quarterback is probably something that doesn't happen very often. And I think it makes a lot of sense for him to bolster that depth at the most important position in a super flex league.
Yeah, that's sound reasoning. Both of you had, until this point, left Cam Ward untouched. Cevan, is this also where you have Cam Ward going?
Cam Ward is going to continue to fall for me. I disagree with Reed. I think although again, I'm not the biggest Jordan Love believer, he's fine in a super flex league. Stafford, I also believe, is locked and loaded for at least one more season. So if he wants, he can push that QB2/3 another year. And then trading for JJ McCarthy, I think, is huge. Here's a little stat for you. Don't fact check. Do not fact check this, but I'm pretty sure since Kevin O'Connell took over, except for the Kirk Cousins Achilles tear year, every single starting quarterback, well, I guess so, Kirk and Darnold finish inside the top 12 every single year. So you're hoping you catch that with JJ McCarthy. He had a kind of a redshirt rookie year, but nobody believed in Sam Darnold. And then he went out and had a top 12 year last year. So I think JJ is going to be, I'm not predicting him to be top 12, but as a QB2/3 option, I think he's completely set at quarterback this year. So getting into my number 6 pick, I have him taking Iowa running back Caleb Johnson. I think despite getting drafted in the third round pretty late, I feel like he fell down. I think the Steelers is about as good of a landing spot as you can get for him. They've got Arthur Smith. Caleb Johnson has a workhorse style to his game. I think he comes in and he's immediately getting 75% of the touches. Trent needs running back. He's got Pacheco, he also didn't get too hurt in the draft, even though they have Hunt. And then help me out. Who's his other running back?
No longer Roshan Johnson. Yes, Tyler Algier, Tank Bigsby. Um,
Okay, exactly. That's my point.
Aaron
So
Jones
so,
is who you're forgetting.
Aaron Jones, yeah, there we go.
ah, wow.
So, but adding a young piece into a Steelers offense that's
Yeah.
predicated on, I think predicated is the right word, predicated on running the ball. I think that's a smash pick. Uh, Immediate upside. You can throw him right in the lineup over Pacheco or Jones, however it shakes out, and that's where I'm at.
What if
So,
Aaron
so
Rodgers doesn't sign there? Does that
Then
change your pick?
they're gonna run even more.
I think this is pretty interesting from both of you. I think Reed's kind of projecting best player available
Hmm.
for Trent with Cam Ward, and Cevan is projecting a more need-based pick and a running back for Trent. So kind of interesting there how you can see those, different styles, thoughts leading to different players. And so it'll be interesting to see how that turns out.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe no running back, no quarterback, goes receiver or something. You never know.
Yep,
So
Maybe he goes tight end to replace Brock Bowers. I don't know.
there you go.
it's true.
All right. Well, at 1-7, we have a really strong team here, not a lot of holes. So don't know what we'll do here. That's my team. So I guess I'm pretty excited to hear. Savan, who do you have me taking this year?
Here we go. So I feel like I have an obvious guy who's slipped down my board personally, but at this point, to me, you just go BPA and you take Tedero and McMillan. I'm not the highest on him, but he got top 10 draft capital. He was the first, well, whatever you call Travis Hunter, he was the first pure receiver taken off the board. It seems like the Panthers fell in love with him early on. He's immediately the wide receiver one. Uh, in my opinion, there's not much competition there. So he walks into what looks like a good situation. Bryce, end of the year strong. So he's on the come up. Tyler just adds a strong dynasty young wide receivers to his lineup, and I'm pretty sure he's sitting happy with that, getting him at the seven slot.
All right, Reed.
If I can say, I think it would be an absolute smash if Tyler was able to get McMillan at pick number 7. That's quite a fall for him, I think, compared to consensus. And I'm higher on him than you are, both the situation and the player. So I think that'd be a smash hit. But for my pick, I've known Tyler Randy Green for a lot of years. This
Wow.
is a man who is as risk averse when it comes to sports as I've ever met. When it comes to fantasy football, when it comes to MLB The Show, everything is risk averse. And in that way, I have been taking Emeka Egbuka, who I think has very, very little bust risk. I don't know what his ceiling is. That'll depend on how long the guys in front of him play, but he's in a proven system, in a role that produces in that system. That's sent 2 straight offensive coordinators to be NFL head coaches with a good quarterback that gets the ball out effectively. He's learning behind one of the best slot receivers in the NFL, who's coming off an injury, so potential for a week 1 starter, not just a mentorship or like a redshirt year for him. I think it's kind of a smash hit for him. He has a couple of really older receivers. And I also think with him, a small factor, also having the 201. For me, when I was filling out this, I think the running backs land better for him at that 2-1 pick than a receiver does. So I think it probably makes more sense for him to snatch up a receiver here than wait till 2-1 to get a receiver.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to comment much on either of those for obvious reasons, but I will note that in the sleeper rankings, there is kind of a tier break here with these top 7 players being Genty, Hampton, Hunter, Ward, McMillan, Henderson, and Judkins. I know Egbuka and Johnson were mentioned by you guys as well, but
Tyler, I'm sorry that the
there's
Cardinals didn't take an offensive player early for you. That would have been ideal. It would have been an easy selection.
easy to smash it or the Ravens.
Honestly, you might still take Walter Nolan. I haven't decided if that's going to be your pick yet.
IDP league.
You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So, and to be fully honest, I haven't fully made up my mind on this pick. I still have a bit more of my own research to do. We'll see how, quote, risk adverse I am, I guess. So, at 1-8, Schrader is picking. Um, as we get farther down this list, I'm sure you guys will, there's less consensus around
Hmm.
these picks. So, Reed, who do you have here?
This is where I have the first tight end going. I have Colston Loveland going here to Schrader. It's kind of a perfect fit, top 10 draft capital to the Bears in what should be a great system for him. Ben Johnson obviously utilized Sam Laporta quite well. Schrader's starting tight end right now is currently Hunter Henry, who, while not a bad option for a backup tight end, I don't think that's probably who he wants to go into the year with. I think again, Loveland's a very talented player in a good system. He fills a need. Um, and I think he would be thrilled if Cam Ward was able to fall down here, which I messed around with, but I definitely think he goes before him. And I think Loveland makes the most sense for him here at the 8th pick.
Okay. Cevan?
This is where I have Cam Ward going. Um, Obvious BPA plus need, and if Cam Ward falls to Schrader, that just seems like a good pick, considering he only has Brock Purdy, literally only has Brock Purdy.
I mean, he has Desmond Ritter and Derek Carr, but
Yeah, so
I see
exactly.
what you mean.
Yeah. So getting the upside of the first overall pick in the draft, hoping he works out. Even if he doesn't work out, it's still a quarterback that you throw in your lineup. So not much analysis on that one. It's just a smash pick if he falls there.
Okay. Very good. Next up at the 1-9 is Rob, who has, yeah, he originally had 1-3, but now has 1-9 from Ian. Um,
This, yep,
good. Yep,
I'll
you
take it
got
away. So this is where I have the first tight end going off the board, and it is not Colston Loveland. It is Tyler Warren. Main reason just being a crossover. He traded for DJ Moore this offseason. Or
I did. I traded for
Traded away
DJ.
DJ Moore this offseason.
yeah, that's my bad.
Does that change
Maybe you
anything?
should have revisited it after Sunday, huh?
No, I'll stick with Tyler Warren. Um, I'll just put it at this. It'll be one of the two tight ends for for the main reason being it's BPA. Uh, Either Loveland, he got top 10 draft capital. He's with Ben Johnson. You've already seen what Laporta can do. Um, and then you upgrade the quarterback from from Jared Goff to Caleb. I mean, and he's a Bears fan, so there's
I'm
that.
gonna.
And then,
So is Loveland your official pick there? I'm gonna stick it to
no,
you.
just either tight end.
No,
Which
I'm not gonna let you. I'm not gonna let you do it. Got to
okay.
pick one.
We'll just switch it to yeah. We'll say Loveland here because and he's a Bears fan, so
Okay,
yeah. We'll take Loveland.
fair enough. So at this point, you've both picked Loveland to be selected in our draft before Tyler Warren. So just that's of note.
He was
Um,
selected before Tyler Warren in the NFL draft as well.
And
that's true.
and got a better landing spot.
Yeah,
Okay, Reed, who do you have Robert taking here?
I was torn here. I didn't really know what to do. I think it's, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's very likely a trade up of one of the two quarterback needy teams as possible. But sticking Rob here, I think that Egbuka was the last receiver that I think is has the potential to be a true week one starter, and he clearly has a need at both flex and a super flex option. I really toyed with giving him Jackson Dart, but I don't think that that solves his problem because I think we all agree that it's unlikely Dart is starting week one. So I ended up giving him Quinshawn Judkins here. I have him falling farther than Cevan does. I think with Rob's team, with the way it looks, he's got Bucky, he's got Brees, but a lot of uncertainty around Brees, both between trade rumors and Aaron Glenn saying they have three running backs they like, coming from a system where the Lions used multiple running backs. Brees Hall was kind of just a volume guy when it came to catching the ball. Justin Fields not going to check down nearly as much as Rodgers did or Zach Wilson did when he was in trouble back there. I think this just gives him a lot more stability at that position, especially given that he obviously his team looks a lot different now. But at the inaugural draft, he started zero running back. He was starting Zamir White and Jalen Warren. So I think this gives him more security there. Definitely more of a best player available than fitting a need. But I think it makes a lot of sense for him to solidify that position and then continue to work to find that quarterback elsewhere.
Yeah, pretty sound reasoning there, and that would make a lot of sense, I think. So we got three more picks for the mock here. Sandy's at 110. Reed, who do you have him taking?
Now, I don't know Sandy very well, but the one thing that I very much know about him is that he's a Packers fan. Right after the inaugural draft, I asked him about Dontavian Wicks for my wide receiver depth, and he told me he was not available because he's a Packers fan and a part owner of the Packers, which is one of the coolest things in sports that fans can own part of the team. So I haven't taken Matthew Golden here. Again, everybody knew they needed a number one wide receiver. I'm not a huge Golden fan, but I think he fits in his roster. His running backs are actually quite solid. Quarterbacks are quite solid. Tight ends are quite deep. Running or receiver makes a lot of sense. Packers took their first round wide receiver in many years. So I think he makes a lot of sense, and I think he fits the team. And honestly, this one was one of the easier picks for me at this point in the board.
Yeah, you sound pretty confident about that. So that sounds like it could be a great spot. We'll see if that's how that turns out. Savon, who you have Sandy taking?
I also have him taking a receiver. It is not Matthew Golden. Originally, I was under the same thought process as just take the Packers receiver. I then looked at Sandy's team, and I am in on Tucker Kraft, and so I it's not my style to start two pass catchers on the same team, and so for that reason, I pivoted from Golden, and I this is where I have Ikbuka going, clear best player available. Whether or not he starts fast, I think he's going to have a long, good career. He's solid. He's just sure at everything. Um, he's kind of a like he's a player that's what you see is what you get. He's just consistent, all everything. He's in a good system, tied to a good quarterback. So
Yep.
had Igbuka going here.
Very nice. So two receivers potentially being, or one of the two receivers listed potentially being picked at 110. 111 is originally Reed's slot, but Reed, that pick is with Cam Thorne now. Cevan, who do you have Cam Thorne taking? One of the new owners to the league.
Now, this one, I don't know if this is going to be controversial or not. I'm excited to hear Reed's side to this pick, but I've got Camden taking RJ Harvey here. Um, you can't deny the draft capital. He clearly went ahead of where he was projected, and Sean Payton's history with running backs is a very good history. He told the league, "This is my running back, and there's nothing you can do about it." And so I think from day one, he's going to be the main running back, whether or not they choose to work in other backs. It's going to be Harvey as the feature back. And so just taking a shot at the end of the first round, that's all this is now is shots. So taking a shot on RJ Harvey to be a potential workhorse for a Sean Payton offense with a young quarterback that's up and coming sounds like a good pick to me.
Very nice. Reed, who do you have Cam taking?
I have RJ Harvey as well, actually.
Wow.
Um, I I just looking at his roster, which I appreciate that he finally updated his starting lineup with players that he's recently acquired in trades. Very nice of you, Cam, if you're listening. I appreciate that. Clearly a need. Javonte Williams is absolute toast. Cheeks. Don't care if he's a starting running back of the Cowboys. I find it very hard to believe he's going to be a fantasy starter for any real stretch of time this year. So therefore, running back creates a big need for him. As you said, RJ Harvey, second round draft capital. Sean Payton uses running backs quite a lot, especially in the passing game. Good offense, should have chances to score. I think it's kind of a no-brainer for Cam. Like I don't know if he has the highest ceiling. He's already going to be 24 years old, but at the same time, I don't think Cam really needs ceiling. I think he actually has quite a lot of it. So I think this is a really steady selection for him that makes a ton of sense. That I think he'd be really happy to get him at the 11th pick.
Yeah. RJ Harvey potentially in Savant's nightmares this year as Savant's a newly minted Audric Estime owner. So, Savant, I don't, you might be shaking in your boots over there
Uh,
when RJ Harvey trots out every Sunday.
yeah, I'll just look at that ring with pickles on it and remember that Aldrich was on my championship team, so I'll be
Robert
good.
is loving his second round pick from that.
Yeah, he's also loving missing the playoffs too, isn't he?
I don't know. I can't confirm that one.
Okay.
Okay, well, we have one more pick in the first round, and Trent rounds out the first round, picking in Savant's spot at 112. Reed, who do you have Trent selecting as the last player of the first round?
This is funny because I have him taking Caleb Johnson now at 112, which is who Savon had him taking at 1-6.
That is pretty funny.
A lot of the reasons, yeah, I could tell you sounded really amused there. Um, a lot of the same reasons that Savon had, except I just have him going 6 picks later. I think with third round draft capital, I would be very surprised to see him go sixth overall. Not that he can't or shouldn't. Again, that's not my job to determine. I would be surprised to see him go over guys with higher NFL draft capital and sleeper ADP. So again, I think it makes a lot of sense. It gives him insurance. As a Chiefs fan, I'm not sure about Pacheco. I think he's going to be better this year, but I don't think his spot is necessarily guaranteed at this point. Aaron Jones, Savannah, and I, the one of the things that we were absolutely on the same boat for last year was that Aaron Jones was absolutely washed, and he was absolutely not washed. But at the same time, he is 30 years old. They traded for Jordan Mason in a good system, or in a system that very possibly could use two backs to keep him fresh. So Caleb Johnson, I think, makes a lot of sense for him. And again, I think at 112, Trent ends up with a really good first round with Cam Ward and Caleb Johnson with his 2 picks.
Okay. Savon, you had already had Trent picking Caleb Johnson and at 1-6, like Reed had said. So who do you have him picking at 112?
I have him taking a receiver here. I got him taking Matthew Golden. Um, they are pretty much just a wide receiver two factory. You finally using a first round pick on a receiver. He's got all the opportunity in the world to take over as the true wide receiver one. Matthew Golden's someone I'm high on. If you take out Travis Hunter, he was my wide receiver one in this draft. Um, you also combine that he has Jordan Love, so
Hmm.
uh, there's the stack there, and then also with their injury history, they've got Christian Watson going into the final year of his deal. He's never healthy. He's one of my least favorite
He just
players.
blew out his knee, so he's going to be out all year.
Okay, yeah, so there's that. Um, then you got Jaden Reed going into the last year of his deal. He's good, but he's a slot receiver. You need somebody on the outside. I think all signs are pointing that Matthew Golden should work out and be a solid wide receiver in the NFL. So I've got him taking Caleb Johnson at 6 and Matthew Golden at 12. And I think also has a good first round with good high upside players.
It was really hard to not give Trent Jaden Higgins here. We know he's a big Iowa
Yeah.
State homer. I really wanted to, but I didn't. I think it's very much in play. And not that the Jaden Higgins would be a bad pick. I'm not saying I would be forcing him there just because he went to Iowa State. He was the 34th overall NFL pick. So it was very hard to not put him there, but Trent has more picks to facilitate a trade up if he really wanted to get in on the Cyclone action.
Very nice. Well, I feel like I should mention, so that wraps up, I guess, the first round, but I want to mention two players that you guys didn't have going in the first round. We don't have to expand on this too much, not trying to sneak into the second round or anything, but two first rounders that didn't go in your guys' mock first round were Tyler Warren and Jackson Dart, both in some sleeper drafts, being projected as first round potential picks. So that's just of note. You guys don't have to
Mhm.
expand on that at all.
Well,
Um,
I mean, I would expand on it.
okay, go for it.
I mean, obviously, I'm a high guy, the high guy on the Colts. I think Tyler Warren. I think Loveland is probably a better fantasy guy. Warren, I think, just didn't go to the right system, even though the Colts loved him. Again, like part of his thing was that he's a bull with the ball. He can do the wildcat stuff, a lot of manufactured stuff. But like, no matter who's starting at quarterback for the Colts, they can run. Jonathan Taylor is elite near the goal line. They have Josh Downs in the short part of the field. Like, I feel like Warren, his skill set is just kind of repeating a lot of the strengths they already have. Um, so again, I'm not saying he won't be a first round pick. He very well could be, and his talent is absolutely there. That's just why I had him falling out of the first round. And Dart, again, I just don't think he's going to be starting year one. So he doesn't really fix the problem right away for the two really quarterback needy teams. So again, I think he could be somebody that gets traded up for early in the second if one of those teams wants to make a move.
Yeah. Same kind of thoughts for you, Sivan?
Yeah, just with Jackson Dart, I mean, he did get first round draft capital. You'd expect him to be the starter in 2026. It's just people play for results now, and there's not really many QB needy teams. And at least in my mock draft, I had Cam Ward going at 8. And then after that, to me, it's really just Robert. And I don't see him passing up on high upside non quarterbacks to take a
Hmm.
flyer on a guy still a year away. And then
Sure.
with Tyler Warren, yeah, pretty much the same thing. The situation is murky, and he just doesn't have as high as upside as a pass catcher as Loveland. And so,
Okay.
yeah, but yeah, they
So,
both easily could be first
Hmm.
rounders.
Yeah, this is there's I think there's probably like 16 guys that have a realistic shot to go in the first round.
Yeah.
Maybe
definitely.
even 17. Like this is not again, we're just guessing here. We don't know what people are thinking. So it very well could be you know, 4 or 5 different guys in this round than we have going.
Well, I had two more quick questions that I thought of that I wanted to ask. First one is, of these three players, which do you think is most likely to drop out of the first round? And this isn't you guys picking the worst or who you have lowest rated, just who you think is most likely to drop out of the first round. So I got the three names are RJ Harvey, Caleb Johnson, and Matthew Golden. Which of those three do you guys think could be the most prone to fall into that second round?
I'll start this. I think out of those three guys, I would say Matthew Golden. T Specifically just because to me, I feel like uh the rookie draft is where you want to try and get your running backs, and so not everybody. or I don't know. I feel like it's easier to hit on running back than in the rookie draft early than receiver. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about either. This is my
No, you're
first rookie
good. I
mock.
mean, running backs are highly coveted and they change so fast and so frequently. I
Yeah,
mean, I think you're right on that people are want to get their hands on them as much and as early as often to
yeah.
just try and get something of value.
I just
For,
say Caleb Johnson because of his NFL draft capital. Like you have a first round receiver, a second round running back, and then a third round running back. So, I
yeah.
mean, analytically, it would say the third round running back. But again, I think all three of those are, as I said, they're in my top 12 of how they went in this draft. So I think they're all three likely to go in the first round. But um, we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm gonna dispute this one specifically because I think landing spot and situation in Caleb's case trump the draft capital. Like I know he went what like mid third round, but the scheme, the running back room, the team, the history of when Mike Tomlin gets his running back. Like I know they took Najee in the first round, but when he was the clear running back, he was getting all of the work. And so I don't know. I guess we just have a different view on Caleb Johnson, or maybe you're just leaning into the draft capital. But
Yeah, but my take had nothing to do with the situation or anything
yeah,
with him. I think he's a great pick at the end of the first round or early second round or whatever it is. I'm just saying the guy who went, 22nd overall, 60th overall, or 87th overall. I'm going to take the guy who went 87th overall.
Yeah.
Those were rough. I don't know if those are exact. They're about right.
Yeah. All right. Well, last question I had for you guys. This is a quick one. You don't have to give me any reason or anything. Just need the answer. I want you guys to tell me over under 1.5 trades in the first round.
Hmm.
So that could be someone, I guess, yeah, someone trading up.
Is this is
How
this any point or during the actual draft?
at any point between now and the end of the first round.
I'm gonna say under 1.5.
Okay. You say
I think there will be one.
not two.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would
Reed?
love to say the over, but I think I'm going to take the under. First round picks are so like the closer you get to the draft, the more people start to value them. So I think the people are going to really want to hang on to them. I think as I said earlier, I think there are some clear trade back spots for some people. So if they take advantage of it, I could definitely see the over hitting, but I think I'll sit with the under as well. I will not
Okay.
dispute that.
Okay. Sounds
One
good. Well, that was fun. Lots of good landing spots I think were discussed. So we'll
yeah,
see
one
how it happens.
one thing I will say is I'm glad like if you take the Genty pick, then we only had one pick that was the same, which was Robert taking the tight end or Loveland.
I had
So
Robert taking Judkins. I had
okay,
Schrader taking Loveland.
we had RJ Harvey. It was Camden taking RJ
Yep.
Harvey. Yeah.
The
So
first and the 11th. 1-1
yeah,
and 1-1-1-1.
it was
That's too
cool.
many
It was
ones.
cool to see after coming up with this for the last week that we did not think alike at all.
Cevan and I's approaches to this were very different. Cevan did his first one because as I said, we were both excited for this episode, so we were planning for it. He said he's did his on Sunday and then did not change it after that, and I changed mine many times this week because every time I looked at it, I felt like I saw something different potentially happening. So I think there's a lot of things that I think there's a lot of things that could happen here in this first round. As I said, I think there's probably like 17 guys who you could reasonably make a good argument for going in the top 12. So
I spoke earlier around my pick. I said I think there's a tier break here, and then after I said that, I immediately regretted it because I don't think there's an obvious tier break anywhere, honestly. I mean, I'm sure there is and there will be, but I don't, looking back, I don't think there's super obvious tier breaks in this first round. So, like you guys said, I think there's a lot of uh, different variations of how this draft could go.
Yeah. I'm excited for at 5 o'clock. I'm hoping Deshaun picks Genty at literally 5 o'clock, and then we can get the actual draft started because Sumner is a wild card, and I'm very excited to see where he lands.
I will for everybody who wants to blame me for something. The reason we're not drafting today is my fault. Cevan said we should have drafted. Well, for those of you who do know, if the Constitution originally said August, and that was my idea. I said, well, why don't we just let all the training camp stuff settle, and then we'll draft when we have a better idea. But that's kind of boring. So we moved up to May. Cevan said we should start drafting today, the second. I said, why don't we do 2 weeks? He didn't argue with me. So I wish we were drafting today, but I could only have myself to blame on that one.
This is an appetizer.
Yes. But then again, if we were drafting today, we wouldn't have had that great episode with Ian last week. So, take your wins where you can get them. We didn't
That's
get many
true.
wins last week, though.
Oh,
That's true.
but we did. We literally got all of them.
That is true. Especially Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tyler, whose pick did you like for you more, me or Savan's?
I'm not gonna say that.
I thought I would catch you with a knee-jerk reaction.
No,
Who'd you have? You had him taking a risk. Oh, Igbuka.
Yeah.
maybe we'll come back to this after the draft is done and tally up who got more picks right.
Yeah. So the
Okay.
next week's episode will be primarily just a reactions, talking about the draft and all that stuff. Assuming it's over by, or like at least the however much is done by the time we record. We'll probably wait until Saturday night to record here so we can let as much of the draft get done as possible. But in the event that the first round takes forever, maybe we'll delay next week's episode to get let a little bit more of the draft come out. But given how the inaugural draft went, where we got 4 rounds done in the first weekend, I think we'll have plenty of stuff done before we have to record next weekend.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then one thing, if you're still listening and you listen to the whole draft, take whoever you want. This was just something fun that we wanted to do.
So just us shooting the shit.
Yeah, nobody's gonna bash your pick. Don't
Well,
pick somebody
that's not true.
because
You're gonna bash people.
no, I'm not. Don't pick somebody because we said to, and don't not pick somebody because we said to. Just whatever you're thinking when you're on the clock, make the selection.
I think the overwhelming sentiment there is don't listen to this episode because we don't want it to influence your choices. So
Yeah.
hopefully we have 0 views on this episode by this time next week.
But I do want to influence you guys about somebody, but I'm not going to.
Do you want to share who your sleepers are, Savan?
RJ Harvey.
Sleeper no
No.
more.
No, just I Tyler, I will say you did not sniff it out. It was not RJ Harvey. But
Bummer.
based on the draft, one person did get eliminated from contention for me. But there's still 3 players. And I potentially have an offer for you when we're on the clock
All right, looking forward to it.
at the 301,
Sounds good.
Okay.
potentially.
Anybody have any last comments here before we sign off?
No, take us away.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I just want you all to remember, not only am I your co-commissioner, I am your only champion. So
I feel like I'm going to stop this recording now because we don't need to hear this.
you must all treat me with respect.